Assassination is a dangerous business, especially so in the world of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, as the next target on your hit list might actually end up being a stand user you're not expecting. This is why the business itself tends to attract human cockroaches of sorts, people who find their way out of any situation and aren't afraid to get a little hurt doing it, alongside those who are easily able to stack the deck in their favor before even entering a fight. And one of the best examples of this is the ruffian roaming between reflections, Iluso, and his stand, Man in the Mirror. Iluso is one of the most villainous members of La Squadra, which thus makes him one of the most dangerous members of La Squadra, as he almost single-handedly defeated 3 of the main cast by himself, and only lost because he didn't fully understand the new guy's ability. Though, before we get too into that, we should actually understand the meaning behind his name. Iluso is one of the only members of La Squadra not to be named after some sort of food. Instead, he gets his name directly from the Italian word Iluso, which means deluded, which that means to be tricked or led a fool. Along with this, Iluso is a word that can mean specifically a deluded or confused man, which plays into Iluso's form of assassination, where he works off the paranoia created by his manipulation of reflections, almost seeming to delight in the process of making his target seem crazy before eliminating them from a herd. And he performs these illusions through his stand, Man in the Mirror. Man in the Mirror is a humanoid stand which seems to be designed as a mirror of Iluso himself, with Iluso having an exposed stomach through his shirt, where Man in the Mirror has an exposed full chest, but his stomach is covered. Iluso also wears pants where Man in the Mirror doesn't, and most importantly, Iluso shows his face where Man in the Mirror is wearing a mask. This mask itself is said by Rocky to be inspired by Venetian masks, which, as I explained in my Malone video, are masks that were worn in Venezia during celebration and events that allowed people of all classes to interact with each other in complete anonymity. Though with these masks came people who used them to pull pranks and commit crimes without the fear of being caught. This fits perfectly into Iluso's use of Man in the Mirror, as his stand does most of the dirty work and allows him to leave a completely untraceable body. Though, what makes this mask stand out is the Tengu-like design Araki gave it, saying that a lot of masks from Venezia also look like they had bird-like shapes. And final note on the design, the glasses of Man in the Mirror seem to be inspired by Michael Jackson's own reflective aviator sunglasses look, which was one of Jackson's iconic looks during the time Man in the Mirror was released. Though, speaking of reflective surfaces, what makes Man in the Mirror so dangerous is its nearly invincible ability, Mirror World Gateway, which is an ability that allows Man in the Mirror to act as or create gateways for Iluso to enter and exit the mirror world. Along with this, Iluso can drag anyone with him into the mirror world as long as they are standing in the reflection of a mirror. Though it appears that he can only target one person at a time, but once he has dragged a target into the mirror world, he can easily change targets without letting his original target out. Now, this mirror world that Iluso and Man in the Mirror can enter, as the name implies, mirrors the real living world. This means that everything is reversed, including text and the position of objects. Along with this, everything that happens in the real world happens in the mirror world as well, even if there isn't a direct thing causing the thing to happen. The same is not completely true the other way around, as if anyone other than Man in the Mirror tried to interact with the mirror world itself, nothing would happen in the real world. But if Man in the Mirror or Iluso does something in the mirror world, it can impact the real world. Though there is one real big major difference between the living world and the mirrored world, besides the obvious mirroring, and that is that the mirror world is completely devoid of life. Though if something does die in the real world, it can become an object in the mirror world. Now, while a target is in the mirror world, they are subject to Iluso's own personal will, as he can choose specifically what can enter and exit his mirror world. This includes items, parts of the body, and even a person's own stand. Along with this, all who enter the mirror world have their personal possessions removed and replaced with spiritual energy in the shape of those items, leaving them effectively naked to Iluso and Man in the Mirror, which is exactly the conditions that Iluso normally likes to conduct business. 2v1, and the 1 is basically defenseless, because if Iluso were to fight someone normally, he'd most certainly lose, since Man in the Mirror is actually really weak physically. He's no stronger than Iluso himself, himself, and we see this as it easily gets overpowered by less powerful stands like Moody Blues. I guess you can sort of consider that the trade-off for how extremely powerful and versatile his mirror world gates are. Which I should mention, these gates, or portals to the mirror world, can be any size as long as they're reflective in nature. Be it a full mirror or a small shard of one, it doesn't matter. So if you shatter a mirror to try to fight Man in the Mirror, you're only making Iluso stronger by giving him multiple vantage points to attack from. Though I should mention that Man in the Mirror is the true gateway itself between these two worlds, because if Iluso dies, all those trapped in the mirror world are returned to the real world without any issue. Also, it should be mentioned that the mirror world is a real dimension in the universe of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and not part of Iluso's ability. Araki refers to it as the Realm of Death, actually, which actually plays directly into this stand's inspirations. Man in the Mirror and his ability is actually inspired from a few places, starting first with his name, Man in the Mirror, being taken directly from Michael Jackson's song, Man in the Mirror, with Araki himself saying that the ability was inspired by him listening to Jackson's music and thinking it would be cool if someone could actually enter a mirror. This could be also why Iluso himself looks very Jackson-like in his design. Though the other reference found within Man in the Mirror is its ability, as the mirror world itself is described by Araki as the Realm of Death, which seems to be in direct reference to the Realm of Death from Buddhist mythology, ruled over by King Yama, as not only does King Yama decide who can enter and exit this Realm of Death, but also he's the only one who can actually interact with things within this realm. And finally, when King Yama performs his judgments on those within the Realm of Death, he uses a massive crystal mirror to show them their past lives and their history so they understand their place within the karma system. These are all, of course, reflected in Man in the Mirror's ability, as it can choose who can enter and exit the mirror world. Only Iluso and Man in the Mirror can interact with things within the mirror world, and of course, the first thing that Iluso does when he pulls Fugo into the mirror world is read him off his own history. And the last little detail about this connection is, of course, Man in the Mirror gets his namesake from someone who is referred to as the King of Pop, meaning that the stand itself is connected to a kingly title of its own, much like that of King Yama. Now, at the beginning of this video, I described Iluso as that of a cockroach. And the reason for this being is he's honestly one of the scummiest members of La Squadra, shown in the manga by him being the smuggest member during all of the fights, be it him bragging about his stand power, taunting his enemies, or even torturing them mid-fight. David Pro even decided to double down on this by showing him even mocking his friends, like calling Formaggio useless, and when Gelato and Sorbet are missing, he jokes that they're probably off doing something. And of course, in Shameless Purple Haze, they also play with this aspect of Iluso's character, with Iluso being the one who was paid to murder Sheila E's sister. This is actually Sheila E's whole motivation throughout the book, as she wanted to join Passione and get into La Squadra so that she could kill Iluso herself. And when Sheila E brings this up to the crew, Marolo, someone who knows La Squadra very well and knows how scummy they are, asks what Iluso did to her, implying that he knows that Iluso is a bit of a scumbag. Though no matter how scummy he is, what makes him truly the cockroach of La Squadra is his ability to find his way out of any tough situation, as Iluso is an extremely perceptive man. Be it his ability to pick up subtle movements in the real world while he's performing actions in the mirror world, he was also able to deduce that something was wrong when Abakio was just giving into his torture. And even when cornered, bloodied and panicked, with his back pinned against a wall by a raging beast known as Purple Haze, Iluso was able to locate a mirror shard and make one final attempt to escape with his life. Iluso is also so quick at adapting to situations that even when he makes mistakes, he's able to fix them with such ease given his ability, as when he mistakenly pulls Moody Blues into the mirror world, Iluso turns that negative into a positive real damn quick by reclaiming a piece of the mirror and yoinking a good bit of Abakio into the mirror world, disabling him not only just in the real world, but in the mirror world as well. Along with this, when Iluso grabs Giorno and unintentionally brings Purple Haze virus in with him, accidentally infecting himself too, he doesn't let this setback stop him from achieving his goal. Iluso, being somewhat inspired by Abakio's own sacrifice, lobs off his own arm by jumping out of the mirror world without it, leaving the virus behind alongside the crew in the mirror world to meet their doom. And this resiliency and survival instincts are the reason why Iluso's death had to be so brutal, as the only way to put down a guy like this was to completely melt away his body, since as long as a piece of him was still alive, he was still going to fight, and it's unknown if Giorno and the rest of the gang could have escaped the mirror world. Also, this death seems to be a direct reference to the movie The Rock, specifically the death of the major antagonist, Captain Fry, who was melted and asphyxiated by a shattering chemical capsule. And after his death, the protagonist injects himself with a vaccine to the chemical weapon, saving him from the fate while he writhes around on the ground, which is almost directly what happens in the manga and the anime. Iluso is one of the biggest threats to the gang, and with him being eliminated so early, it was a huge loss to La Squadra as a whole, showing firsthand that information is one of the most important resources when it comes to stand fights. It's just a shame we never got to see Iluso and the rest of La Squadra take on Diavolo, especially when you think about how straight busted a combination attack between Risotto and Iluso could have been. Now, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more videos like it in the future, I have a Patreon at patreon.com/ManyNotTheBadGuy. And if you want to be blessed by a man in the mirror, well then first you need to head on over to buyshimonetta.com and purchase yourself a copy of Shimonetta. Each copy comes with a special mirror that allows you to see into the mirror world yourself.